where it's like, oh yeah, I started in Division One, so I can play in the NFL, and that I was telling myself like that my freshman and sophomore year, and looking back, I'm like, there's no way if I was kicking like that, I'd be in the league.
Welcome to the Talent Alone Won't Win podcast. I am your host, Suzi Freeman. I am a mental performance coach, specifically working with kickers, punters, and long snappers. And I welcome you to the channel. Hey, everybody. Today I'm super excited. I get to talk about, as you know, draft prep. And today we have Dominic Zvada, which is, a treat for sure. And I know you have a lot of good information to share with everybody. So, how are you today? You're done with the combine. Now you're prepping for pro day. What does it feel
Yeah.
like?
It feels good. Feels like the next step is here. I feel like after the season, all I could really think about was the shrine and the combine. Now that's over with, we can get ready for pro day, and then it's a reality. So it's crazy.
Yeah. So, with your prep, then thinking about that, you said as a season wraps, you're thinking, shrine, combine, pro day.
Yeah.
How do you feel about pro day versus combine? Like prepping in that dress, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Well, so for me, like the combines, and for everybody really, the combine was first. So it was really the big thing on my mind, and the thing that I was kind of putting all my mental energy into. And I think my thing was just, get to the combine, perform well, and do everything you can to perform well in the combine. And that momentum will help you kind of going into pro day. And and I think that's exactly what I've been able to do. And I feel really good going into pro day. Obviously, had a great combine, and that just helps.
Yeah.
Mentally, when you go into pro day, you already know like, hey, these scouts have seen me kick already, and they know what I can do. So just go out there and do it again.
Yeah. Do you feel like pro day is going to be much easier because you're home?
Yeah, I mean, you're kicking in your own indoor facility. You kind of, I mean, I've been in there a million times already, and I know my landmarks and where I need to put the ball and things like that. So, yeah, I'm very comfortable in that indoor facility. So, yeah, I'm excited to be able to do that.
Yeah. So as you know, we kind of talked a little bit beforehand. My goal is to really put this out and help the next year's draft class and anyone here.
Yeah,
So, but it's always fun to learn interesting things. So, what's the
yeah.
most surprising thing so far in the process or really around maybe combine? Anything crazy, surprising you're like,
The most
"Oh, I didn't know
surprising, yeah, the most surprising thing is how much importance goes into the interviews. Um,
that."
Obviously the kicking part, you gotta make sure that you nail, and you gotta go out there and do your job out there. But at the same time, you gotta be ready for these interviews that these coordinators and scouts are gonna have, and you gotta be ready to answer uncomfortable questions maybe. And they're gonna want to know everything about you. So
Yeah,
um, you know my agent got me connected with someone that used to work in that type of setting and knows the type of questions that they're going to ask, and kind of just the little details and things. And it definitely helped me feel more comfortable going into my first ever interview, and the interviews at the combine and all those things, and kind of helped ease my nerves, and also
mhm,
just kind of helped me, not I wasn't so stressed about the interviews that I forgot about everything else going on at the combine. I could still focus on everything I needed to do each day, and I wasn't just like, oh, these interviews, man, I'm dreading them. But I wasn't. So I think that's something that people kind of look past, and something that can definitely hurt you if you don't do it right.
I heard from one of the coaches that I chat with on occasion, he said that his big tip is y'all need to like brush up on who's going to be at the combine as far
Hmm.
as coaches and whomever might interview you and stuff. Did
Yeah.
you do that? Were
Yeah,
you
so
yeah,
my agent, and I think most of the guys that were there had a little let me grab it really quick.
like
It's
a
right
little
here.
flip book?
I won't open it because it's kind of for me, but it's from Sports Stars, and it's just a playbook. It's called the Playbook for Success, and it kind of goes through everything that you could possibly run into during this process, from all-star game, combine, results. And then at the very end, it's got NFL coaches, and it's got a list of every team with their updated coaching staff.
Okay.
So just kind of looking over that before you go into interviews, and memorizing the names just so you can kind of give a good first impression is always a good thing.
Yeah, I love that. So now that we're kind of chatting about that, one of my questions, if you want to answer, how did you go about picking an agent, and what advice do you have for other people when it's because that's a big deal, right? You kind of
Yeah.
have to pick somebody that you're attached to the hip for a
Hmm.
long time.
Yeah. So the way I found Jim and Dan at Sports Stars was they reached out to me after or during um, my junior year, and we were kind of just talking, and they were kind of doing the recruiting process. And they also represented Jake Moody, so I think being in Michigan kind of helped me with that
Yeah.
connection. Um, and so uh, Also, we just started developing a relationship. I had relationships with other agents too, just throughout my college career. Just kind
Mhm.
of meeting them at different spots, at different camps, and just kind of maintaining relationships with everybody you could, just so that when the time came to choose, you had options. Um, and I mean, Jim for me was the guy that I wanted to go with. And we after I decided to come back for another year, we had a relationship for over like a year and a half. And we built a good rapport, so it was definitely him. But yeah, I'd say maintain relationships, not burning any bridges or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Is definitely the key, because you never know, someone could they could make a big deal for somebody, and they're like, wow, I really like that, and I didn't expect that, and then you're like, now I want to maybe think about them. So um I just say, let just soak up all the information. It's kind of like picking a school, almost going into college. They're going to recruit you, if you are have the fortune of being able to choose your own agent. um do your
Yeah.
research and make sure that you pick the one that you think is going to do the best job for you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's probably so much that goes into it. I mean, as you know, I chat with a few of you in here, different ways people picked and chose them. So I love that piece. Tell everybody, when was it that you decided through your college career, or maybe it was even, I know you got into kicking junior in high school, but when were
Hmm.
you like, hey, NFL, like that's a dream,
Hmm.
versus when it's like, whoa, this actually might be
Hmm.
reality, like a
Yes.
possibility? Do you know when that kinda clicked where it's like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
am a good candidate for this?"
Yeah. I mean, when you started the Division 1 level, you kind of like, it's in your mind where you're like, yeah, like I could play in the NFL, and you're just like, you kind of have that. I guess it's a little bit of arrogance, where it's like, oh yeah, I started in Division 1, so I can play in the NFL. And that I was telling myself like that my freshman and sophomore year, and looking back, I'm like, there's no way if I was kicking like that, I'd be in the league. But um yeah, I don't. It always been like a dream, ever since I got to college. But really, like in my junior year, when things started to go really well, and conversations actually started to happen about whether I should come out now or I should wait another year. That's when it really was like, okay, this is actually like a possibility, and like the odds are much higher now than they ever were. Um, and so once you start thinking about that, then it's like everything else changes. You got to start, this is how we're going to do things. And you got to pay a little bit more attention now, because you're going to be a pro at this soon. Or I guess you already are a pro because you're getting paid. But
This is true, this is true.
yeah, no. So and then luckily for me, I mean, I had over a year and a half of like, kind of having this ready to go. And so I feel like once this whole process started, I felt like I was able to get, on my feet, and go really quickly.
I would assume too, a program like Michigan, it's
Yeah.
just kind of automatically implied, like, you better be to a caliber mindset that you think you're going pro. Like, we don't
Yeah.
accept anything less than, right? So,
Yeah. And
I'm sure
yeah.
that helped up level that piece for you.
Yeah, and I think that was part of the reason that I did choose this school was because of like Jake Moody and Brad, and Wags hadn't gone to the league yet, but he was a very good player at his position, and like Quinn and all those guys back in the day. Um, I mean, they had done it, and you want to surround yourself with people that have had that type of success. So, um, yeah, coming here and knowing that there's already been a guy at the position, that's done it at the highest level,
Hmm.
definitely was a big reason why I chose this school.
Yeah. I mean, I like that. Through your college career, what's been the easiest and what's been the hardest for you? It can be academics, like, what's been the
Mm.
easiest, hardest part about being a college athlete, whether it's the school
Um,
choices?
I think I think the easiest part is I don't know how to like say this, but the easiest part is just being around the facility and being with your friends. Um,
Okay.
it's like it's really not that hard to get up and go to practice when you know that your 8 best friends are gonna be there. So, for me, that was the easiest. The hardest stuff for me were, um, obviously having tough games, losing, uh, consistency over a long period of time. I mean, it's really hard to be, like, consistent, and people learn that, and I learned that. So things like that, I guess. But like early morning workouts weren't tough for me because I feel like I could get up pretty easily and go. um and I mean, having a facility you can go to, and having free meals, like, that's always really easy. So, um
Yeah.
everyday life was not too hard as a visual athlete. So
Everyday life's not too
yeah.
hard. Unless you have the wrong classes and stuff, then you're
Yeah, I mean,
screwed.
people make it hard for sure.
Let's talk about your this is important. I think this is one of the important pieces that a lot of kids, especially at the earlier ages, I have some down at the freshman high school level, and man, getting them to understand like the lock-in process, and
Yeah,
even if you call it that, but it all really revolves around your daily habits and routines and just
yeah,
the things you set up for yourself. Do
yeah,
you want to share kind of what that looks like for you and
yeah.
how that changed, if any, once you left college and started pursuing this draft piece?
Yeah. Okay. I actually is something I would say to my younger self as well. Is have have very repeatable, consistent daily routines. I feel like when I'm doing my daily consistent routines, everything else in my life just stays consistent as well.
Mhm.
And that's I mean, that's what we need as specialists, is consistency and everything. So, taking care of your classes, making sure that you're not, in anything crazy, or, piling up a bunch of missing assignments, getting on professors' nerves, things like that. And then eating good. Um, Obviously, whatever your morning and night really routines are, like for me, it's journaling, meditation, visualization, things like that. My mantra in the morning, I got my stuff on the mirror, things like that to stay consistent. With those, um, definitely just helps everything else in your. It's just kind of how it works. Everything else in your life just kind of stays like how it should be. And problems don't really arise nearly as much as if you're just going through life, just kind of figuring it out. And so after, once you transition from college, when everything's structured and it's kind of easy, if you, don't, have a very consistent routine to kind of get away with things, to now you're on your own, and whatever
Yeah.
you do, it's your product. There's nobody helping you through it now. You got to be able to navigate that, and I think having those consistent routines to kind of fall on and have as a backbone for everything else going on in your day, definitely is an advantage versus not having those. Because I feel like if you're just going through your day, kind of figuring it out, like, oh, I'll go kick at noon, and then maybe I'll go lift later in the day, and then 2 days later you're like, what did I do the other day? You can't really. So, like, and then that just starts to pile up. So, having consistencies in your day, and having foundations that you can fall on, whether it's your daily routines, or whatever it is super important.
Yeah, I agree. I think having those things that build that consistency in there, like, is helping build that discipline.
Yeah.
Because when I look at, you know, you guys going through, it's like exit college, you don't really have, even though you can stay at the facility, use their things and stuff and still kind of feel at home, right? You
Yeah.
don't have anyone saying, show up here, do
Right.
this, do that.
Right.
If I'm not wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, I should say, you
Yeah.
even have to arrange to have holder and a snapper come, right? They don't,
Yeah.
you just
I
call
mean,
the dude and say, do you have time?
yeah. I mean, yeah, with Steve, I mean, I'm pretty fortunate that he kind of coordinates things while I'm home, but if I'm up here in Michigan and I mean, I need to, ask Greg, see if he's around. Huddy's got class and he's doing his own thing here too, and he's got practice and stuff that he needs to deal with. So it's like if I need to get something going here, you really got to plan it in advance, and it's not
Yeah.
just something that you can usually just spring on everybody and be like, hey, like I need you here now. So yeah, I mean, consistency and planning ahead, things like that are definitely going to benefit you, because if not, then you're just going to fly through it and not even know what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it amazes me how many, even at the wannabe pro level, if you will, just wing it. I'm
Yeah.
like, how are you winging it? But
Yeah.
you're right, having all
Yeah.
that stuff
Crazy.
there. Yeah. So what would you say is your biggest kind of mental trick, mindset
Mm,
trick that, if you're like, I get one or two things that I are non-negotiables, what would they be to get you through this
yeah.
process?
um like mental,
Just whatever you need to keep like your
exercise.
mental game ready, like keep that
Oh,
that
I see.
mindfulness ready.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been like at the hotel at the shrine and at the hotel at the combine. I brought my little red light and I would stick it in front of me every morning and sit in front of it for like 5 minutes, not even that long, and just sit there and listen to some meditation music and just kind of visualize, um, if I was kicking that day. Visualization, as Susie knows, is a big thing for me, and
Mhm.
so um, just being able to sit there and visualize, and if I get out to the stadium early or wherever we're practicing or whatever's going on that day, and getting a couple dry runs in and just kind of seeing the stadium and seeing how my ball is going to do, um, I think is something that I need to do, in order to be successful that day. So I think my advice is just find that one thing that kind of helps you, come down to earth, and s- allow you to live in the moment and not be so stressed about what's going on versus
Yeah.
be able to perform at your best. So that's, for me, that's what it is.
Okay. So, hey, now I know if we took anything away from you, don't take the red light.
Yeah. Now the red light's been clutch because I mean, I've been, um like, there's been some early mornings, like the combine, we were asleep like 11 o'clock, 11:30, and then we'd have to be back up at like 6 a.m. So we weren't really
Okay.
getting a whole lot of sleep. And so being able to have that and then, going to get breakfast and kind of start your day like that, I think
Yeah.
kind of helped me have a little bit more, a boost of energy. And
Right.
just kind of felt better overall. So
Yeah. Nope, that's fair. I love the red light, as you know. I think it's important.
yeah.
Good for healing and stuff too.
That too, yeah.
Uh,
It just helps the body as well. So
yeah. So, couple questions that I think are important leaning into. So, the and maybe let's see. Um a lot of young kickers, I'll put it like this, a lot of younger kickers, they just really see a lot of the highlights and all of that stuff, as you know, on social. And it
yeah.
feels or appears easy or, oh, he's
Yep.
lucky kind of thing. What part of the grind and all of that are they just not really seeing or they're kind of underestimating?
Yeah. So, I mean, my first advice, at least for me, was getting off social media was like awesome. It was so great. And because yeah, like you said, you compare yourselves to other people, and
Mhm.
that's just like the worst thing that you could possibly do. And
Yeah.
before I kind of talk about things that like the other players don't see, um the combine for me going into it, my mindset was compete, don't compare, and that's kind of the quote that Steve and I have been using ever since I really got to college. When my head coach said it to me when I was competing for the starting job at A State. Um, you're gonna kick your ball, and your ball is good enough, and there's nothing else you can do to get 5 more yards on your field goals during in the moment. So why worry about what everyone else is doing when all you have to do is focus on making kicks yourself, because that's all that really matters. So don't compare. But I think what some people don't see, or what definitely people don't see, is how much you know kicking you do in the off season, how much I think players kind of not mess with things, but like kind of see what works, what doesn't. For me, like during the off season, it took a while to get to a point where I was like, yeah, um, this is exactly where I want to be going into the shrine and going into the combine. Like it took about a month of straight kicking, not every day, but like 3 times a week with Steve. And there was days where it was like, man, this is frustrating. And like, I'm, I was not happy leaving the field, but I'm like, I know that, we switched a couple things up, and it's not going to be pretty to start.
Yeah.
And, you got to have to trust the process. You got to find a coach that you're able to put everything into, and trust that he knows what he's talking about, and that he's going to, help you sail the ship. And so, yeah, there's definitely going to be days where it's like, man, what was I doing? And you kind of just have to go back and reevaluate and be like, all right, this is what happened. This is, we got to, maybe the jab step was a little too inside, so we got to bring it back outside a little bit, or things like that. So, um, every day is not a highlight day for me. I don't know if people really know that. I don't just go out there and kick 60-yard field goals every single day. Because
Oh,
some
no.
days, because some days I struggle kicking a 30-yarder, and it's just like, what am I doing? So that's definitely a good message to everyone. Where it's like, I'm definitely not perfect. Nobody's perfect. You know.
Yeah.
Um, I don't even know. Brandon Aubrey's probably had bad practice days before. So, everyone has them, and don't use it as discouragement. Use it as an opportunity to learn more about yourself, and continue to get better.
Yeah. I love that piece. You're right, because so many won't they'll go and they have a coach that corrects something, and
Hmm.
it's almost like they just expect suddenly you're a rock star. But
Right.
when that correction piece happens, it's a little bit for your body, even that neural pathway mentally, the memory and muscle memory and stuff to adjust. It's like you're
Yeah.
not gonna tweak and then be even a better rock star. So
Right.
you're right, people do get discouraged. And I'm glad that you shared that you have, you know, the crap days where it's like, I'm struggling to kick a 30. Like, what are we
Yeah.
doing here? So
Yep.
that's a great message in that. I know I wanted to ask you, we talked a little about, well, I'll come back to that. Sorry. I want to ask you, you're very different than a lot as far as the amount of coaching you get. I guess I'll put it in this way. A lot of the guys go to various different coaches, multiple
Yeah.
coaches.
Yeah.
You've been pretty consistent with, like, I've got Steve, like Steve
Yep.
and Chad with the
Yep.
move and stuff. So,
Yep.
how do you feel that is and benefits or maybe doesn't benefit? Like, how would you weigh that, and why did you make
Yeah.
that choice?
Yeah. No, I mean, I got to be careful, because some of these coaches are a little sensitive to things that people
True.
say. So,
We can
but
skip it and I can.
um, but no, absolutely. I think, my plan all along was just Steve and Chad, and Jamie is a great resource as well. And when he
Mhm,
was in town, I definitely went and saw him. Um, I didn't see the benefit in traveling every weekend to go somewhere else,
mhm,
or spend my time. Um, Obviously you look at it and you think maybe the competition part is a good aspect, and I agree. Like, if I had two other guys that were going to the combine too, that I could kind of compare myself to every day, I think that's a big benefit. But I think, what was even greater for me was the consistency of the weeks, that I knew that for the next 3 weeks I was kicking, lifting, kicking, lifting, kicking, lifting, day off. kicking, lifting, and so on. And you can kind of focus more on the little things and focus on your technique. And today I'm going to go into this practice or kicking session and treat it as if it was the day of the combine. And I think also just getting your rest and recovery is a big thing. And when you're traveling a lot, that definitely takes a toll on your body. Um, and also you're just getting opinions from a lot of different people, and you're hearing things, and sometimes that can also be, that can be a benefit. Someone might see something that another coach doesn't, but at the same time, um, if you're hearing like one coach told you to do this and the other coach is like, why are you doing that? It's like, okay, well, what am I doing here? Like, I'm wasting my time. So
Yeah.
for me, like, it was important for me that I knew that Steve was my guy, and I didn't need anything else. Um, Exception for Jamie when he was in town. And I knew that he was going to do everything that we I needed from him, and I knew that, like, he didn't really need to be a whole lot. He just needed to be a guy there to kind of mention a few things, and he knows exactly what he needs to do to help me get better. So we've been working since I was in junior high school, so I trust him. If he feels confident in me, I feel confident in myself. So I knew that he was going to be my guy, and I didn't need anything else.
Yeah. I only bring the question up because I was chatting with an agent, not your guy, just to be clear. I
Yeah.
was chatting with a different guy's agent, and I loved his piece, his kind of outlook on things. We were talking about this same thing with coaches, and he said, I don't like to send my guys to all these different guys. He goes, it doesn't mean they're bad coaches. He said, his philosophy on it is stick with the guy that got you here
Yep.
because obviously it's working, right?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
because he says that he feels like part of the problem can be is you get to this level and then suddenly you're like, well, I need this, I need this, I need this. Like you really feel like you have to up level everything. And
Yep.
as we know, chatting about that through your college time, trying to outbeat yourself, right?
Yep.
Is just can be a problem.
Yep.
So that's kind of why I brought it up with you because I love
Yeah.
that aspect of it of
Yeah.
just
And yeah. And I'll say one more thing too. You never owe anyone anything, especially a coach. Sometimes coaches will try and give you a little guilt trip and be like, well, I did this for you. I did this for you. Why aren't you coming to my camp? Well, I'm the player, and it's my product that goes onto the field. Okay, I'm going to do whatever I feel is necessary for me, because you're not the one that's going out in front of 100,000 people kicking the football.
yeah.
So it's my whatever decision I make, I'm making because I know that I'm the one that has to go out there and do that. And so yeah, I just want to say, you don't owe anyone anything unless like they saved a family member or saved your life or something like that. Um, Stick with the people that got you there. I think that's the biggest thing, is because they're gonna know best, and they're gonna be able to coach you the best.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think that's perfect. So, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you doing this and, I appreciate the things I've learned from you too. So, is there any last piece? I know you gave a lot of good nuggets, but if you could think of any last piece of advice, even if you had to think back to your freshman self,
Yeah.
knowing like, oh man, if like your freshman self knew you'd be exactly here with the combine
Mhm.
invite, all the things, is there
Yeah.
any piece of advice you would give yourself back then or someone
I
else?
mean, it's gonna sound cliche, but it's true. It's live in the moment, and don't get so caught up in the future. Um, I had a writing on my mirror for a while. It's take it one day at a time, and today is the most important day of your life, because it's the only one you have. And if you're thinking about the NFL and you're only a junior, and you know that you're about to go into your junior year, and you're already thinking about, where do I want to do draft prep, where do I want to do all this stuff, like that stuff does not matter in the moment. Like, you got so many other ththings to worry about. Enjoy your time. You only get 4 to 5, I don't know what they're doing these days, 6 years of college.
20.
Yeah, you only get so many years of college, and enjoy it as much as you can, because you'll never get that time back. And once it ends, you're like, dang, like, it's really over, and you're never going to get that time back. So um enjoy it. You have that team with you. You're never going to have a team like that ever again. You're never going to have a brotherhood like that again. So enjoy the moment. um have fun. Don't don't get scared, don't get all, whatever about having to play. Just enjoy it, because you're doing something that not a lot of people get to do, and that's play Division 1 football. So um or whatever, you get to play college football. So I think that's what I would tell myself is, don't worry so much about the future and just enjoy the moment.
Yeah. Two things there. I mean, you're so right. You dominate today, that gets you to tomorrow, right?
Right.
It's just
It
you
helps
gotta
out.
win today to even get to tomorrow.
Right.
So, yeah, I love the present moment focus. And then I also want to point out you're always very consistent in, the advice you give. Because I remember a conversation we had, I think last February or so, we talked, and your advice to high school kids was enjoy it. It doesn't
Yeah.
last long. Right? And you're
Mhm.
you're saying the same to the college kids. So I love that
Yeah.
piece. I think it's so true.
Yep.
Um, what are you gonna miss most? And then I'll let you go. What are you gonna miss most about the college piece? Because we talked about that identity shift, right? It's now you're
Mhm.
pro, you have to shift it up, whether it's changing
Mhm.
routines and leaning in. So going back, what's that piece you're going to miss,
Yeah.
you think?
Absolutely. Like, I mean, like I kind of mentioned, it's the brotherhood part that I'm going to definitely miss the most. It's going to practice in the mornings or workouts in the mornings and practice in the afternoons, and knowing that you're going to see your boys, and then going to hang out with them afterwards and getting dinner together, and hanging out on the weekends, doing everything. Pretty much, it's your family. So once you move on from that, they continue doing what they're doing here, and you have to just kind of figure things out on your own. And I think that was a little tough at the beginning, because it's like, wow, like, now that's really, that part of my life is over, and these guys, they have to move on, um, with their college careers and things like that, and you have to go your separate way. It's kind of like a forced breakup. um, and so definitely, it's definitely nice, because I still talk to a lot of them, and you don't really ever lose that brotherhood, but it's tough, because um you're not there every day, and you don't get to see them every
Mhm.
day, and it's just reality now that you're a pro, that you got to do things for yourself, and that's kind of what everyone's doing. It's their job, and it's how they provide for their families, so everyone's got to look out for themselves.
Mhm.
So it's just how it is. So yeah, that's what I'll miss most.
I mean, I love it. I think you gave a ton of nuggets to those coming up, those dreaming of it, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate that. And I mean, I loved watching you these last couple of years just evolve, and it's
Yeah,
only going to get better, right? So that's super exciting.
absolutely.
But thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much for watching and listening to the Talent Alone Won't Win podcast. If you want to get more tips and tricks on how to uplevel your mental game, subscribe to the channel and visit my website, susifreeman.com, and let's connect.